Founders and CEOs often share this common frustration. Despite building audiences and consistently delivering value, converting that influence into meaningful business opportunity remains elusive. Does that sound familiar? This challenge stems from something deeper than just strategy or effort. Many traditional approaches to audience engagement no longer align with modern business relationships. What worked previously often falls short in today's world. Because of this, I decided to expose the most important parts of our internal systems. Firstly, this course starts off with a masterclass I did for a mastermind. In this masterclass, I'm sharing this exact framework and strategies that may help you, whether you're a founder, creator, or CEO, identify and learn what is required to create opportunities through this process. While outcomes depend entirely on execution and market conditions, you'll discover the principles for building systematic approaches to this specific strategy. A few important points before we dive in. This content contains detailed strategic concepts. I invite you to allow yourself to watch it through in its entirety for the sake of understanding, then thereafter review it again for implementation notes. You'll find the timestamps in the description to help navigate the specific sections if you want to skip the sections, even though I don't recommend you do that though. And if you have any questions or insights, share them in the comments. I'll review them personally and provide additional context where needed and helpful. Important to note, this training presents educational content based on our experience. Results vary significantly based on factors including market conditions, execution, and individual circumstances, etc. This information should not be considered business or financial advice. Right, guys, I'm just going to go through some housekeeping rules. So please ensure, we are recording this, so when you do listen back to it, and for those who are going to listen to the recording, please ensure that you're not driving. Make sure that you are muted throughout the training. And if you do take notes and you really like taking notes throughout these sessions, I would encourage you to grab your pen and paper and take the notes. But just before we begin our exploration together today, I just want to invite you to please share the questions that naturally arise in the chat box. So when we get to the end, when a great decision is being made, I'll go through them in the Q&A section of the training. I'm not sure at which point you might stop and find yourself naturally more and more fascinated with what it is we're about to get and share. I just want to extend an invitation to yourself to just relax and just allow yourself to enjoy how this naturally takes place. So with that in mind, let's jump right in. So for the agenda today, we have just a disclaimer and a compliance aspect to the training. From there, we're going to understanding Outbound. I'm sure that we all have a bit of an understanding of what Outbound is, and I'm going to share a bit about what I believe Outbound is for us and what we do. Then we will go into the success factors in outbound opportunity creation. We will then from there on moving into the tactical stuff, which is 7 organic and hybrid acquisition models with key performance indicators for the outbound efforts. And then lastly, we will go into the live Q&A. So let's go through the disclaimer. So all percentages, financial projections, and claims in this presentation are illustrative and not guaranteed. This content is not intended as legal accounting, medical advice, or compliance guidance regarding software or social platforms. If you guys want to get insights on that, find professional consultation for that, please contact a qualified expert for it. We do not take responsibility for the adherence to perform specific regulations or any issues arising from non-compliance. Results may vary, and we make no guarantees of specific outcomes. By participating in this training, you acknowledge and agree that no specific outcomes can be guaranteed and that the results may vary. If you are not in alignment with that, I do invite you to go and enjoy your day further. But without further ado, let's jump into Outbound. So let's understand Outbound. And I want you to imagine this car that you're seeing here. Now, this car, as it is a vehicle, it requires a lot of different parts for it to really function optimally.
right? So there you've got the engine, you've got the gearbox, you need wheels, you need a steering wheel, you need the pedals to drive. So understanding outbound, see it exactly the same as an opportunity agent, same as this car. The nice thing about outbound is you've also got the control that you would with driving a car. You can control to either speed up the process or the car for that matter, or slow down your opportunity engine. So if you're starting out, if you're truly starting from scratch without any followers, your market positioning is not established yet, you don't have a lot of friends or connections per platform, obviously this will take time. But overall, it is important to mention that outbound is not the same as inbound. It's obviously much different in the sense that we are not reaching the amount of people like you would if you were to run ads. So see outbound a bit more like driving cross country rather than driving quickly to the nearest grocery store. So the differences within outbound that we incorporate, I'm just going to share those different types with you quickly. It would usually just be cold calling, direct messaging, direct mailing, etc. There are other differences within organic and marketing. I'm not going to focus too much on that. I will touch on it briefly within its entirety of the outbound strategy. So understanding outbound, what is outbound and why is outbound important to have successfully installed in your business? So what is outbound? In my opinion, in the most simplest form that I understand it, it's an opportunity engine that control and that allows you to generate more opportunities by leveraging social behavior, market positioning with influence and persuasion. The key to successful outbound opportunity creation is knowing where to reach the right people and knowing how to effectively communicate with them, which provides you with insight into whether there are future collaborative opportunities or not. Then we always say outbound before inbound, but never inbound without outbound. That is very important. Businesses should not solely rely on inbound. There's different reasons for that, but mainly there needs to be an element of outbound that enables you to capitalize on the lowest hanging fruit, that helps you to save costs and build longer lasting relationships by choice. So once outbound is successfully installed, outbound has the potential to create opportunities that can carry between 40 to 60% of overall monthly revenue while inbound is active. Or if you don't run inbound, then outbound becomes your main source of revenue generator, where you obviously take home 100% of the revenue. The benefits of outbound, and this is outbound now without inbound, is there's obviously no large upfront financial risk. You have the opportunity to test your message, to test your content. You have the opportunity to study the psychology and the behavior of your potential clientele. Your cost per leads are low, your cost per application is low, your cost to acquire client is low, and that stays quite low across the strategy. Outbound creates a higher efficiency for your calendar. See it more as a high lead efficiency. You have much more show up rates, and you have the opportunity to qualify those leads long before you get them on a call. You will also find with outbound that you have a much higher closing percentage than what you will get with inbound leads. And just a general benefit is it alleviates ad volatility. So if you were to run ads and let's say your business is generating its revenue 70% out of inbound, and your ad account gets shut down, and it may take maybe a week to 2 weeks to get that ad account down. If you're running huge teams or large sales teams and operations, there's a lot that can go wrong within those 2 weeks, where if you have a good, successful outbound system installed, you do not necessarily have to rely solely on the ads. But I do want to mention, though, having ads running while also performing outbound, that is really the sweet spot. So let's look at success factors in outbound opportunity creation. So the first one is platform identification. So understanding which platforms your ideal client is on and the do's and the don'ts of that platform. That's crucial. You might find that a lot of your clientele are widely spread across different platforms, especially in B2B. You might find them on Facebook, you might find them on Instagram, and you also might find them on LinkedIn and Twitter, where different maybe B2C offer would only flourish on Facebook, but not so much on LinkedIn, just as an example. But understanding the do's and don'ts of the platform is going to be crucial for longevity within outbound success. Give you guys a realistic example here. So if I'm starting out and I'm looking to market and my client is on Facebook, my potential clients are on Facebook, I have several ways to go and attract these clients on Facebook and to reach them. I do that. I start to communicate with them. That by itself, it's an outbound approach. But if I don't understand what the platform has, I wouldn't understand how to grow on the platform, firstly, but I would also not understand what risks I run into with the platform. So I, for example, know that if I were to run on Facebook and I need to create opportunity, I can go to my competitors, I can run outreach towards their friends list, I can go into different communities and I can do the same thing there. But I know that from a metric point of view, I cannot send out more than 110 messages per day. And that includes follow-ups, that includes new messages, and that includes continued conversations. And within that, I can also not send out many links after each other. That could also get us flagged. In order to send a friend request, the same thing. I know that by default, the good average is 25 per day. And I know a good acceptance rate is between 5 and 15. So between 5 and 15 acceptance a day, I get between 1 to 3 opportunities, meaning conversations that I can start. Now, obviously, over time, this compounds, but taking that into your daily, that indicates that, look, if I get, let's say, 2 people to accept per day, that is 10 people per week, it's 40 people per month. That's 40 new conversations that I started. I can work that back and see, right, out of these conversations, let's say half of them were continued conversations. They continued in a conversation with us. Taking that into consideration, half of them booked. So then 10 of them booked a call and I closed 5 of the call. Let's say the closing percentage or the closing rate was 50%. That's just a little bit of the marketing math, but that starts by understanding the platform. It's going to be very hard if you do not understand the do's and the don'ts of the platform with the ideal clientele on how to scale on it, especially with Outbound. Then what we look for is, after identifying the platform, is opportunity creation through the platform. Like I just mentioned, you do this through your competitors. You can leverage their audiences. You can leverage the groups, the communities that's on there. You can leverage the connections. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to gather insights to where your ideal client would be at. But what we want to do, we want to operate within those realms and start to initiate conversations. Then we move into marketing positioning with influence as well as with persuasion. So this is where, for example, content creation comes in play. It's extremely important to have a solid content creation system. This is crucial to help with your social authority. And it also, if you're doing content with the intent to drive people more to the buying pocket, then you're doing it right. Especially if you want to leverage Outbound to be operating in tandem with content. So you're not just putting out content for the sake of nurturing and providing insights, but if there's a bit of a strategic aspect to it where you're really moving them closer to the pocket, that is where Outbound works really well. But it certainly helps a lot with the response ratio. So if your account's got obviously no content on it and you start to reach out to people or you start to form new connections, it's going to be quite different. The acceptance rate is going to be much lower than what it would maybe if you had content or profile was quite primed in relation to what the potential clients needed. And in short, if you have the content structured, it shortens the selling cycle because of giving that opportunity for your clientele to learn, to know and trust you. And then from your market positioning, we look at influence. This is a very, very important part. And I've spoken to a few guys who've done Outbound, and I would say they do Outbound fairly well. They generate good numbers. But a big area that I've seen that's quite lacking, the ability to understand influence. Now, I want to break down the way that we see influence and persuasion so that it maybe just helps with this explanation. So influence is more behavior orientated aspects, where persuasion is more communication. Okay, it also triggers different parts of the brain when we're looking to persuade. But again, it's not the same thing. Influence and persuasion are not the same thing. And especially if you can distinguish this quite early in Outbound, it will really help. So an example of identifying social behavior per platform is obviously a benefit. So let's use a real-time example. If I'm now thinking of how can I leverage a platform social behavior to influence someone and essentially persuade them, let's look at LinkedIn. LinkedIn is quite a tough cookie to crack, especially if you're doing Outbound, because there's a lot that's happening. You get a lot of cold pitches there on a daily basis. People are not really open to that form of relationship building because of the business platform. However, though, you will get a lot of your ideal clients there. So if I were to run a campaign on LinkedIn, I wouldn't necessarily just go and send out a connection message trying to persuade them in the message. There's no compliance. There's no relational aspect to it. So what I would suggest is maybe running some form of automation where you visit their profile, right? So if they have LinkedIn Pro or Unlimited, they then get a notification that indicates to them that Johnny has visited the profile. The next day, we'll like the post, right? So it's not new behavior. Then after we've liked a post, we will then send a connection message with a connection, and we keep it informal. We do not keep it formal. It could really just be something like, hey, Chris, I like what you're busy with. Let's connect. Straightforward, very simple. I mean, it doesn't sound like I'm going to come and pitch you anything. It's very non-threatening to some extent. And if they accept, I then initiate conversation and we continue with the conversation and we see if there's any potential collaboration to move forward. If not, if they don't accept the connection request, we just retrieve the connection request. Now, taking that into consideration, that behavior is spread out between 4 to 6 days. But I just wanted you guys to understand, if I'm referring to influencing on a platform, it's taking the natural behavior that's socially acceptable to those people subconsciously that they're constantly showing on the platform. That's very important. So from there, we move into persuasion. Once we've now gotten the compliance of them accepting, they're seeing that we're on the platform, we're busy there, we then move into the persuasion aspect and we make sure that we are communicating in a way that's in alignment with our mission and our values, but that we are also leading them through the discussion, right? And that gives us an opportunity to then qualify to see whether we are a good fit or not. At the end of the day, if we want to build these lasting relationships, we are going to need to make sure that whoever we're choosing to help, that they become long-term clients. So again, bringing back to the behavior here, you'll see a lot of, people think outbound, it's just pitching left, right, and center. Now, taking that into consideration here, this is not what we suggest you do at all. This is not go into, after someone accepts a connection request, from there on, just pitching them a paragraph with the hopes that they maybe respond or form lasting relationships. That's not how you're going to build it. Even though it is sometimes beneficial in certain areas of service. I mean, if I'm running a sales recruitment agency, something like that would be appropriate. I'm sure you guys have seen it a lot with VAs. VA agencies just run and they pitch you straight out the gate and they sell you on their price and whatever the case may be. And that makes it socially acceptable, but that's not for a high ticket offering, right? You're not really going to sell a 17K product by doing it that way. Those are the two approaches. So we lean a bit more towards the relationship approach to make really sure that we build the relationship with the people and we truly establish connection and form trust. And we identify if there's some form of synergy there or not. If there's not, it's also okay. If there is, great. Let's test and see what that looks like. When it comes down to the persuasion aspect, when it comes down to the communication, it's going to be extremely important to take note of the subtle cues within your communication, whether that is through direct emailing, whether that is connecting with someone on Facebook or LinkedIn. It's extremely important to understand what script they are running when you are reaching them. This is crucial. This can make or break your reputation. It can really affect your social positioning. And ultimately, this will affect your bottom line. So being able to understand exactly where they position at, in what frame of mind they're at when they're receiving the initial message or the conversation, that is going to be crucial. And I'm not saying if someone pushes back, that we're doing something wrong. That also happens. It happens to all of us. But how to disarm them and how to continue the conversation, that's more what I'm leaning towards. Then within this persuasion aspect of the marketing positioning, conversion mechanisms, your VSLs, webinars, short VSLs, they are crucial. I know they didn't work so well the past few years, especially when it comes down to maybe running ads, high cost per lead. And, you can't really backtrack, how many people are watching, how long they're watching. But when it comes down to outbound, because we have our control on the knob, we can enforce follow-ups in a certain way. We can get responses. I will share with you guys a little bit later on what we can do in order to get notified if someone's watched something and how to communicate with them from there on. But essentially, if you have a form of conversion mechanism in place, it is going to help significantly with the process. It's not a necessity to necessarily generate opportunity, but it is extremely beneficial having that in your persuasion arsenal. Very, very important. Then we go over to hiring. So this is something that's very There's a set standard way within the industries. However, though, how we run it is a bit different. So depending on the amount of social platforms that your ideal client operates on, we will determine how many outbound operators and VAs we need to hire. So we use a 1-to-3 ratio of moderately established market positioning. For personal business, that means that we have one outbound operator and we have 1 to 3 VAs. We do not let the outbound operate as a setter where they go out and they do basically everything. We've seen that getting someone that's quite well skilled, usually these are guys who come out of the sales game that are not looking to jump on calls every day, but they still want to incorporate their skills, not really focusing on copywriting either, but really generating good profit. You will get these guys and they will be great when it comes down to becoming an outbound operator. And we want to have VAs to do the legwork, all the brain dead tasks, the tasks that's truly going to get this operator to get frustrated, that's going to decrease his performance. We want to make sure that we get VAs in place to take over that part. And eventually, what you want to have is the outbound operator almost working like a sales integrator. They want to eventually step out of where they're currently positioned at with just doing outbound outreaching to managing the VA team and eventually training up the VAs. And there's different ways of incentives that obviously you can incorporate to make it beneficial for the outbound operator. But these are crucial when it comes down to successful outbound. Then data optimization. Your systems are only as good as your data, especially in outbound. So when you're tracking your outbound metrics, it's going to be important that you understand your economics to make sure you are on track and that the current efforts make sense. We'll discuss a little bit about this later, but taking this into consideration, it is going to tie in with how you understand the platform. You can't run metrics. I can't say to the outbound operator, look, I need 10 calls today. And I'm projecting that based off what I think is the standard. Every platform's got its limitations. Every platform's got its opportunity. And you're going to need to find a way to understand the platform, and how your communication fits into that will help you to be able to do some form of marketing math where you can work your economics back and see, right, this is what we will need. This is the average cost per lead. This is the average cost per application. And this is the cost per client, essentially. But again, that comes down to understanding your data, optimizing that sufficiently, and making sure that your outbound team is managing that successfully per platform. Let's move over to the 7 organic and hybrid acquisition models. Before we do that, let's quickly go through some terminology. I'm sure you guys do know these quite well, but I sometimes make up my own acronyms, so I thought it's important to bring them in here. So connection request, if you see a CR, that means it's either sending a friend request or connection request, or following someone, or sending a direct email. Again, this is platform dependent. Then we have conversion mechanism, CM. This is, as we discussed earlier, your VSL or webinars. Then we have a conversion asset, it's a CA. We have a hub, which is essentially your ecosystem. Could be a group community, it could be a podcast or your newsletter. Then we have a virtual assistants. We've got outbound operator and low ticket product and book a call to action. So let's look at operational best practices and compliance within these outbound systems. So firstly, we want to look at data-driven decisions. In this process, we want to make 100% sure that we are removing emotion from the process. Outbound is only as effective as your ability to understand and manage your numbers. Guys, this is crucial. And there can't be emotions to this process. It needs to be systematized. You need to understand the numbers and work alongside the numbers. Then the testing and the linguistics. In this testing phases, you will find that people are going to try to call you out. They are going to test you. And this is where the linguistics is very important. As I mentioned earlier in the persuasion aspect of outbound, this is where you can disarm, or this is where you can step back and still form a great connection without really getting people calling you out. However, though, that happens. If you per platform sending out 2,000 messages a month, you are going to get people who are most probably in their own right wise enough to see that you DM them with an agenda to go somewhere. Now, this is, again, it's dependent on your offer and your clientele, but this will happen. However, though, it is going to be important that the linguistics are sharpened so that you know how to disarm or just bring someone down and keep the conversations fair and subtle so that you won't get into any challenges with that. But it does happen. And then you can also run into shadow bans from time to time. This is normal in outbound, especially starting out. Let me give you guys an example of, again, you maybe just starting on Facebook now. You do not know what metrics to look out for. You do not know how many messages can be sent, how long you should wait between the messages, how many friend requests you can send, how many groups you can join. Should I remove the friend request? I mean, there's so many questions that does need to be taken into consideration. And just by having maybe a dormant account, the account could be created 10 years ago. If it was dormant and you're starting to run it and you're sending 50 friend requests and you're sending out 60 messages after each other without really giving in sufficient time, that eventually is going to lead you to a shadow ban. There is ways to get around it if it happens. Sometimes you can get banned for 30 days. There are ways to go around it. However, though, we want to minimize that as much as possible. In the same way that your ads can get shut down for 2 weeks, if your outbound efforts, you don't get fully blocked per platform to that extent, but what happens is your actions does. So where you yesterday could send out 150 messages, today you can only do 5, and then it tells you, sorry, you can't send out anymore. You're blocked from using this feature. So, and then it's almost this cooling off period where you gradually increase that over time, and that sets you back at least 2 to 3 weeks. That's not what you want, especially if your engine is running smoothly. All 4 wheels of this car is moving forward. You know where you're steering towards. You've got the numbers sorted out. You do not want to start over with it. You do not want to start over with that. And then making sure that we manage the connection protocols. Okay, this is important with the outreaching. So we only initiate messages after a connection request is accepted. This sounds like a no-brainer, but it happens that sometimes we may not know the platform or whatever the case may be, and we would just go for it and send a message hoping that we can persuade this person without having any form of trust or connection, haven't formed any compliance. Nothing really is working. We do not want to just send out this. You'll get a lot. If you go into Facebook, you look into your spam folder, you look into your message request folder, you see a lot of pictures that comes through on a daily basis. And what happens there is these guys use automation tools, which the automation tool is not the problem. It's the fact that they're not waiting, that they're not honoring the process. You want to first get the connection obviously accepted, and then you initiate conversation. Very important. And then we never want to present our opportunity in the conversation later than the 5th message in the conversation. So in the sequence of the way that we're going to go into dialogue, let's say our script. In our outbound script, obviously email is different. There's a bit different rules there, but from a social standpoint, if we are in conversation, we're building rapport, it needs to be strategic. We need to get clarity. We need to form relationship. We need to identify the relationship. We need to provide opportunity. And that usually takes between 3 to 5 messages. The sweet spot is around about 4, but not more than 5. So if you're going down a path of having a conversation, you want to get to an opportunity to say, look, this is what you do. This is what you can help with. Are they interested? Yes or no? If they're not, great, unfriend, move on. Or if they're not, but if they are, good, get them booked in or share them your conversion mechanism link, and then get the outbound team to run on that. Aspect of outbound that truly makes it successful is the follow-ups. In outbound, follow-up is king. And this is depending on the industry, a significant follow-up percentage is required. I come out of the medical profession. For doctors, it's not really appropriate. If I get to 3 follow-ups, they start to really go haywire. What are you doing? Are you spamming me? Whatever the case may be. But we found that 2 is the sweet spot. 2, we get great responses. There's no negative kickback. So that works there. Let's say in the service space, sometimes you can do up to 4. It just depends on the times that you're sending it. Is it every day? Is it after 2 weeks you send the 4th one, etc.? Those things are possible, but follow-up is going to drive a lot of the bottom line opportunity with outbound, a lot. And then when we follow up, we only follow up with people who read our messages. Because we are limited with the amount of actions that we can take per platform, we do not want to waste output within the wrong actions. We want to make sure that we are truly just taking actions that's going to move this vehicle forward and help to generate opportunity. So we never follow up with people who do not read our messages. Then we want to look at avoiding pitfalls. So again, just making 100% sure that the rules of the platform and the regulations with its limitations, be aware of the follow-up limits, be aware of the lead as well, right? So if you're thinking of a potential client, it's not just about following up, it's also taking them into consideration, right? If I'm following up with a doctor, I'm trying to remove emotion from it, but I also need to have some form of understanding, like this doctor's probably busy in practice. They can't get back now. So again, just making sure that you discern when it's appropriate to start following up, but also when are you starting to burn out the lead? Because that also happens. And then you get guys who push back, or you get guys who block you, or they report, or whatever the case may be. We want to minimize as much of that as possible, obviously, but that is important. And then making sure that we leave time, sufficient time between messages. We've seen around about 3 to 5 minutes per message is good. Depending on the messages, we mix up the follow-ups with continuing conversations and as well with initiating new conversations. That's extremely important to leave sufficient time, and even more so when you have messages with links, like a booking link or webinar link, whatever it may be. If there's a link inside of a message, you almost want to double up on that time, and you do not want to send 2 or 3 after each other either. Right. And then we go into AI transparency. This is something that we are all very much aware of. It's booming the most recent months. AI is going to be a very, very awesome asset for Outbound. It's really starting to get there. However, though, we do need to make sure, and again, I'm not a lawyer, I can't speak for that, but I am aware that with the new laws, we cannot use AI to communicate or to sell anything without we disclosing that it's AI. So it's just a caveat there. If you're using AI to help generate the leads, just make sure that the person that you're generating these leads from know that it's AI. There's ways to get around it linguistically that doesn't sound like the person's going to push you back. We are looking to incorporate that now from an outbound calling point of view, not to make sales, but to get guys onboarded. I'll share a little bit more about that with you when we get into the tactical aspect of the training. But essentially, there is space for it, but just making sure that you bring in the aspect to still stay compliant. Then we have opportunity management. Okay, so again, this is to help with compliance, but we want to make sure that we remove connection requests or friend requests of people that's not a good fit to make space for new opportunities. But we also want to make sure that we clear out our database with these platforms. For example, if we're running 25 friend requests per day into a group that's got our ideal client in to connect with these individuals, and we're not withdrawing those friend requests, eventually Facebook's algorithm picks up that, look, this is spamming behavior, and you do get flagged for it. It happens all the time. So we want to make sure that at least 1 to 2 weeks after the friend request has been sent out, that those friend requests gets retrieved again so that we make space for new ones. Then we want to make sure that we do not allow someone to take longer than 4 days to book a call. I mean, this is quite general, whether it's inbound or outbound, but we want to get someone in the calendar within 4 days. The quickest you can get an outbound operator to get in contact with a lead who either opted in, whether that is to a lead magnet, conversion mechanism, whatever it may be, where you can track and that you can identify, you want to get a call through to them, provide value, and get them into the ecosystem or get them to book a call. It's extremely important. The quicker you can do that, the more successful your outbound is going to be. So let's jump into the organic structures here. So what we'll be going through is 4 organic conversion assets, and then there's 3 hybrid. I'm not saying that you can't use ads for these. You can. However, though, in outbound, we use them all the time. So as you can see in this graph 1, you've got all the different social platforms. I just named a few there that you could utilize outbound-wise. And then you want to initiate conversation. And from the conversation, you lead them to book a call. And if they book the call, they go to a thank you page. If they don't book a call on the schedule page, you give them a call. The outbound operator gives them a call, and the outbound operator gets them to book the call manually, and then provides them with a gift. Whatever training this may be, whatever it may be that you know may be valuable to your ideal clientele, this is where you provide that, and really it helps with the conversions. Now, taking that into consideration, this is where AI could also become very handy, because you get quite a bit of compliance already. By the time they need to book in, it's okay if AI phones. It's not that big of a deal. Whereas if AI started the conversation and had the conversation, there would have been a bit of friction. You most probably would have struggled to get the booking in the first place. and then you would have run to do a bit of follow-ups to get them booked in. However, though, this is a straightforward, this is Outbound 101, and it's not reliant on content. It's not reliant on conversion mechanisms. You can really go for it with this. Again, this is the quickest way that you can generate opportunity with Outbound, but your market positioning needs to be established in the market. Okay, that is like, let's use Chris as an example here. Chris's account, I mean, we all know Chris and them generated great awareness. And through that, we could leverage that. We can look at the followers, we can look at the current friends. There's a lot of way that we can reach out to the lowest hanging fruit and generate opportunity. Now, the requirements for this would be just an outbound operator or USD business owner yourself and a VA, the VA to do the legwork, right? Sending the initial messages, follow up with the people. Like those are the things you want to spend your time on. And then you want to have software that can be a CRM for the social platform. And you can also obviously have that on the back end that helps with it. Your expenditure with this strategy is fairly minimal. I mean, your team, depending on the revenue share or the commission to the outbound operator, your VA cost will be roughly $150, I would say, for the month if you're just starting to reignite opportunities. And then your software would be roughly between $120 and $165 a month. And again, these are just CRMs for back end and front end. Let's move to organic number 2. This is where we connect, obviously having conversation, get into a conversion mechanism, then schedule a call. If they don't schedule a call, give them a call to get them to schedule a call. And then once they've scheduled a call, you can also call and provide a gift alongside that. Fairly simple. The key factors I would say here is quite a high booking rate, especially if your conversion mechanism does well. You have to obviously rely on market authority and the content to move the client into the buying pocket, especially if using the conversion mechanism. And the sales cycle could be a bit longer. It could be 1 to 3 calls depending on the offer and the pricing. Again, the outbound setter here does more or less the same thing, right? The operator goes to give a call, gives a call, provides gift. What we can add here, don't add this in the design, is obviously a nurture sequence. You can add a nurture sequence to the prior one as well after they book in. That's very important. And I would say the nurture sequence would be focused on building relationships and moving them closer to the buying pocket as well. Now, I would suggest, it's quite self-explanatory, but in order for the conversion mechanism to run successfully, you are going to need a copywriter that understands your industry. You're going to need a tech specialist to get that going. You're obviously going to need, whether you choose yourself or an outbound operator and a VA. And again, the software stays the same. The only thing here that you add a booking software that helps with the automation. Now, again, expenditure here, obviously bring in copywriter. Copywriters, I'm sure you guys know, but they could start from, I would say, $450 upwards for a VSL or webinar, depending on your budget. You can choose to increase that as well. There's some great copywriters out there. Software still stays the same, roughly $165 per month. And then we move into organic number 3. This is, again, connection request, conversation, conversion mechanism, schedule a call, and then thank you page that leads to the ecosystem. You can still add the ecosystem to the previous ones we went through now as well. But when you're starting to run these specific strategies, the ecosystem are quite established, which is beneficial for the people coming in. If you don't have that established, you don't want to get guys coming in thinking that you are positioned well within the market, but then your community doesn't really have any substance behind it. So we want to make sure that the community is well established before guiding them there. So by the time we want to implement this, I'm sure that would be there. Again, from a conversation into conversion mechanism, if they do not book a call from the conversion mechanism, they go down where Outbound gives them a call. Outbound gets and schedules the call manually with them. They move through the conversion mechanism. They make a call, they make a booking, or they don't make a booking. Outbound gives them a call as well. Let's say they don't book through the calls, through the outbound calls that goes out. There's a win-back sequence that needs to happen in order to get them back into the pipeline. And then once they've landed on the thank you and they don't go to the ecosystem, the outbound phones again with the gift and then gets them into the community, or they go to the community themselves. Okay, so the key factors here is a shorter selling cycle. The opportunity to showcase authority is also still there. You can test what works here before putting money behind that as well. You need to be experienced in presenting from VSLs and webinars, especially when you're starting to have so many steps within the process. You need to have a strong win-back sequence to get these guys back on track. And you need to have an operator that can dial from a phone. Again, that's why I think AI is really going to boom within the outbound space, is if you can have a system that's automated that has that in already, the system will know to phone when someone opts in. That's crucial. And then just a few caveats around the conversion mechanism. Just make sure that your links are tracked, right? Use Bitly or Genie, or develop your own custom links so that you have metrics to understand the behavior, where they come from, what that looks like. Make sure to install a screen tracker to identify the behavior on the conversion mechanism. You want to start optimizing long before running ads. The behavior you'll see from outbound is most probably going to mirror the behavior you see from inbound. So we've used platforms like Hotjar, Full Story, Mouseflow, SmartLook, etc. These are just, you install the head code and you can track the heat maps on the pages. If your conversion mechanism is pre-recorded, if you have a developer or someone with a bit of IT expert, they can help to store it on Amazon and build the tracking parameters within the webinar. That is crucial. I don't see that a lot within the industries. I know there's a few guys who do it, but they have their own form of IP around the apps that help with it. It's not that you don't have to go through that route. If you can just get someone that can help you to build these parameters in, that can trigger at certain parts in the webinar to send out specific email sequences, or that can trigger someone from outbound to give them a call, you sort it. What you want to be able to track is you want to see how far they get the conversion mechanism, but also making sure that there's specific cues when they reach certain points. Different email sequences, but also getting outbound to give a call, especially if they drop off around about the 50% mark. Then we know they're quite hot. We can give them a call quite straight away just to get them to book in or to find out what happened and either then provide some value or then put them on another path. Again, Google tag, Metapixel, if you utilize that by all means. Yeah, the requirements are the same from a team perspective, but you will have a tech specialist, a funnel builder, and a designer present here. You'll also look at different software. You obviously have funnel building software now. You will look at certain screen trackers and certain integrations that needs to happen with, whether it's now Amazon or different platforms you use to be able to build those parameters in, but that is extremely important. And you will also need your hub, right? Whether it's a group, community, podcast, newsletter, however you choose to nurture your audience, where you know they're the most active, you want to focus on that. Taking that into consideration, the expenditure here starts to increase a bit. So your team would be between $450 to $2,000. And this, again, is excluding the outbound operators' commissions or revenue share. And then your software expenses here would be between $165 and $525 a month. Then organic number 4. This is one we're looking to test now. We've tested quite a bit in the past. It works very well. And the reason why it works well is compliance. I want to give you guys an example. I'm not sure if you all can see this pen. So compliance is like this pen. If we want someone to comply, we need to get them to take actions, specific actions at specific times. And the more those actions compound, the more likelihood they will be persuaded within the process. So, I mean, this pen is plastic. I can really break it if I want to. I'll see that as step number 1 in compliance. But if there's 15 pens here that I need to hold like this, I mean, I'm not going to be able to break 15 and see each pen as a form of compliance that they showcased. A lot of times you hear it, I think in the service industry, they call it as, there's higher buy-in. That's essentially compliance, but compliance is a bit more comprehensive in the sense that you need to look at the micro actions as well, not just the macro actions by putting down a credit card and then getting them onboarded, but making sure that you understand the process, that you form a lot of compliance, so that is that form of obedience within the process. Now, looking at this organic number 4 here, again, from the traffic source into a conversation. From the conversation, you get them to book a call first. If they don't book a call, you give them a call. Now, it's important here to identify when you're writing a script, your script needs to go 2 ways here. If you have a conversion mechanism, it either goes to the conversion mechanism as the desired outcome that you want, but you always want to have the downfall of having a conversation. So, for example, if you're speaking to a A-type personality, the chances of them really being open to communicating, dialoguing, watching an hour webinar, whatever the case, it's very low. With someone like that, it would be beneficial to just get them to quickly book in, jump on a call, have a conversation, and see where that leads. But taking this into consideration from a conversation point of view in Messenger is once you get to the opportunity where you've now told them what you do and how you could potentially see some form of synergy would that be beneficial for them? And they confirm that it would. We first start off with asking their email, and that's just to test. If they provide the email, we know for a fact that we could most probably get the contact number as well. Once we get the contact number, we then provide the booking link. They're going to need to fill everything in as well. But like I explained with you guys just now with the pen, we're starting to, obviously they're in conversation with us, so there is some form of dialogue, so there is compliance. But here they're starting to comply more and more. So taking that into consideration, by the time they need to book the call, their compliance is quite high. They will book the call the majority of the times. Once they've booked the call, the chances of them watching the webinar is going to be quite high as well. So we want to get them into the conversion mechanism. From the conversion mechanism, it leads them, it's a thank you page that leads them to the ecosystem. Now, again, if they don't book, Outbound gives a call. If they are not really interested, get them into a win-back sequence. And if they've watched the webinar and they don't go into the ecosystem, get Outbound to phone, provide value, get them into the ecosystem. Again, this will all be part of the notification systems that you guys have built into these conversion assets. So SMSs need to go out. You need to integrate Twilio. You need to know if someone opts in, you get an SMS. Your Outbound operator gets an SMS. If someone books in, same thing. If someone, whatever they do, their behavior, you need to get notified what's happening so that you can get onto connecting as quickly as possible. So the key factors here is there will be a higher opt-in rate, as I just explained. Again, you will need to be experienced with presenting, but the outro here needs to be different, right? So where previously you first had the conversation, then webinar, then booking a call. Here you have conversation, book a call, then webinar. The outro of the webinar obviously would change, because if the webinar was before scheduling the call, the webinar would tell you to book a call, persuade you to book a call. Whereas now the webinar is not persuading you to book a call. It is basically guiding you to get into the ecosystem. But essentially, you will need to make sure that that outro is in alignment, but it's still quite strong and beneficial for them to take action on. And then the additions to that, the requirements and the expenditure all stays the same as the previous one. Now we get into the hybrid aspect here. This is where we run ads, but we also do outbound. So here we have ads on the platforms that your ideal client is on. You import a CSV, your list. You run ads towards the list for a minimum of 2 weeks. Then you send out a cold email to the list. The cold email could be to either share a gift or, to book a call. In this example, it is getting them to act on a form of conversion mechanism, VSL, webinar, whatever it may be. If they don't choose to take you up on it, you've got the details, give them an outbound call. If they then from the outbound calls seem okay, you get them into the ecosystem. Let's say everything goes well, they go through the webinar, they get persuaded to book a call. From the call, they go to a thank you, and from the thank you, you get into the ecosystem. And again, if they don't comply, outbound is there to save, right? You give them an outbound call, you get them on board. And again, if they're not interested in that, that's okay, get them into a win-back sequence. But make sure to provide as much value as possible so that it is beneficial for them to even answer the call. Yeah, again, it's a bit different to the previous ones. We do want to make sure that we warm up the list first. We don't just want to send out emails towards these guys, and also making sure that the emails that you send are compliant within the countries that you're looking to sell it. That's extremely important. Then the selling cycle here might be a bit longer than usual, and you do require your outbound operative to really be on the follow-ups. It's going to take a lot of legwork for them. But the additions, the requirements, they're more or less the same as the previous ones we discussed. The only thing that comes here with the expenditure from a software point of view is your email marketing software. I know Mo has got a great one. Yeah, we highly advise you guys to look at his as well. But you want to look at the email platform as well as your emails, right? So you don't just want to start email marketing with one email. You want to warm up at least a minimum of 20 servers. From the 20 servers, that needs to run for another 2 weeks. You need to make sure that your emails are warmed up. They need to go out, etc. So your software costs range up to, it's $825 a month. And that is taken into consideration all the other software that you're still running from a fully outbound perspective. You can then start to run the ads here. I mean, I wouldn't say run more than $30 to $45 a day. It just depends on the size of the list. You want to get through the entire list before you start contacting them. You want to make sure that whatever you're looking to persuade them on, that is inside of the creative of the email list. Then we move into hybrid number 2. This is basically add to lead magnet to VSL to book a call with a thank you page, with a essentially confirmation page that leads them to the ecosystem. Quite straightforward, running ads to lead magnets, from lead magnet to conversion mechanism. schedule a call, thank you page, ecosystem. If they don't comply with that, you get outbound to phone. If not, win back sequence. One thing I do want to mention, I didn't mention it earlier, within your community, within your ecosystem, it's important that your outbound efforts also operate there. When someone gets into the community, they need to feel like they joined something remarkable. There's already value there, but there needs to be conversations happening all the time. We cannot stray away from the conversations, even though we're leveraging ads to get opportunity in here. Outbound goes out, creates calls, creates the connection, forms the trust, and the same with the communication once they've joined the ecosystem. Very important. And these are for all the previous ones as well, where there was an ecosystem involved. Things here, again, key points, outbound operator to call directly after opt-in, very important. So when someone opted into that lead magnet, they need to receive a call. Speak about whether they're interested in the conversion mechanism or why they didn't watch it, and then get them throughout the process. This will also decrease the appointment costs, but it requires a bit more of a intricate data management in order to make sure that you don't lose track of your ROI. Especially if they start to lose and fall between the cracks here, and outbound needs to get a call, get them back in. You need to track those metrics, and the revenue there could become challenging. And obviously the selling cycle is quite long. You go back with expenditure software. Now you've removed the email software costs, and you back between $165 and $324. Everything else stays the same. And then lastly, we have the hybrid 3. This is just a low ticket model. You just add to lead magnet, to sales page, to thank you page with book a call to action. Very similar here, run add to lead magnet, from lead magnet to a tripwire. If they don't purchase, outbound gives them a call, manually makes the sale. If they're not interested, they go into a nurture sequence. Let's say all goes well, they make the outbound makes the sale manually. They go to checkout. From checkout, they then get upsell to a one-time offer. If they don't take the downsell, it takes them through to a short VSL, but outbound would be there to assist within the second upsell. So the second upsell would be basically your profit maximizer, right? That's where you try to capitalize on the opportunity. The offers, I added the pricing there at the top. It could range between $197 and $297. If they don't choose to take that, you cut that in half. You add a 35% surcharge on it, and you charge them on a monthly basis. There's quite good conversions with that. And from there, it takes them to a VSL after they've purchased, and the VSL is to book a call. From a thank you, and then from the thank you again into the ecosystem. The nice thing is you've got financial buy-ins from the beginning. You've got quite a higher order value, obviously, because of the ongoing purchase behavior, but you also will need a skilled media buyer who understands the strategy, and if something goes wrong, knows how to mitigate big challenges or technical errors within the process. Now, let's quickly go through the daily priorities and KPIs. Now, just to mention, this is all dependent on the platform and also your authority on the platform. So at the beginning of the day, generally what this looks like is the outbound operator response to messages that came in through over the night. Ideally, you would, if you could have a team that runs 24/7, fantastic. However, though, it is limited to the amount of actions you can take per platform, so that does need to be taken into consideration. Then you also have your VA who initiates the messages, does the follow-ups, and make sure that if you're running 2 steps, for example, that works very well in outbound. If there needs to be comments or responding to comments, whatever the case may be, the VA also does that. And then at the end of the day, fairly simple. You want to clear the inbox, wrap up the conversations, and respond to any new comments. And then your daily actions with KPIs. So currently per platform where we're looking to generate between 25 and 110 messages per day. Those messages are new messages, continued conversations, and follow-ups. And we want to send out at least a minimum of 25 connection requests per platform. Okay, and now we've seen with that we can get out 1 to 5 links, whether it's a booking link or webinar link out per day, and we can then track that back, right? So if we're then looking per week, that gives us roughly 550 messages that needs to go out per week. That will give us between 10 to 20 links that go out per month. That's 2,100 messages that needs to go out, and then 40 to 80 plus booking links that needs to be sent. So, I mean, if you were to look at it, right, let's say worst case here for the month, there was 40 links that was sent, 50% of those links booked through. Now let's say it's booking links, okay? And the closing rate was 50%, and you, for this example, had a $5,000 product, right? So that's 50K. That's 10 clients on a 50% closing rate on 20 bookings that half of them book through when they receive the booking link. Now, taking your expenses into consideration, you still do a 6x return on that. I mean, your expenses, if you were to take the VAs 8 hours a day. The outbound operators split the software. I mean, you probably sit around 5.9% return, which is fantastic. It's not bad at all. Now, taking that into consideration, that is extremely important when you start to run the efforts, that you will be able to track the marketing math and know exactly where your numbers are, what that looks like, what is your cost per lead, what is the cost to acquire the client, what does it look like on a monthly basis, what is the outlay, what do you need to pivot, where do you need to employ, and how do you need to manage. That will really help a lot to understand. But
today we're going to dive deeply into the core of what outbound really is, its strategies, and crucially, what it is not. So let's start what outbound is not. Outbound is not about aggressive selling or spamming potential clients with irrelevant messages. It's about meaningful engagement, fostering connections that are built on trust and credibility. Outbound is far from being a quick fix. It's a long-term strategy, a commitment to cultivating trust, relationships, and credibility in your market. Outbound is not about pushing a product or service. It's about presenting a solution, an opportunity for potential clients to solve a problem or fill a need they have. Outbound should not be seen as an intrusive or disruptive process. When done right, outbound feels natural and welcome because it arrives as a solution, a helping hand, or an exciting opportunity for your potential clients. It's not about creating pressure, but about offering value. In its essence, outbound is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It requires customization and understanding of human beings, and a tailored way of communicating that resonates with each unique audience. So, what is outbound? There's a multitude of definitions out there, but let's focus on our perspective. Outbound is about proactively creating opportunities by reaching out to potential clients. It transcends the traditional scope of cold calls or emails. It's a nuanced, strategic approach aimed at building relationship and forging opportunities. Outbound consists of carefully crafted tactics designed to engage and influence, and as you'll discover, it involves a blend of art and science. Let's explore this further. The key to successful outbound does not just rely on the strategies and tactics you employ, but more importantly, understanding your target audience, communicating effectively, and consistently following up, managing pipelines, and lastly, the economics. This is what separates outbound systems that will grant you authority and the ones that break your market positioning. Not implementing outbound with care will destroy your business in a blink of an eye. The requirement is to balance influence, persistence with respect, leadership, and pure business acumen. When it comes to the operational side, outbound requires certain investments, like running any form of business. These include potential operational expenses like hiring virtual assistants, investing into marketing softwares, and considering commission models or retainers for successful outcomes. In today's digital age, automation plays a vital role in outbound strategies. Utilizing the right software can significantly enhance your efficiency, allowing you for better tracking, scheduling, labeling, messaging, and management of your outbound efforts. Remember, outbound mastery doesn't happen overnight. It requires patience, persistence, and continuous optimization. Over time, your efforts will grow, it will compound. So, in conclusion, outbound is about understanding its nuances, implementing strategic tactics, and using the right tools. The foundational knowledge sets the stage for everything we'll cover in the upcoming lessons. Today, we will dive into the essential concepts of authority and awareness in market positioning and how that relates to outbound. And guess what? The key to successful outbound isn't just about reaching out. It's about how you are perceived when you do. It's about understanding the delicate balance between building authority and raising awareness in your market. Authority is about establishing yourself as a knowledgeable, reliable source in your market. It's not just about what you know. It's about how you convey it and how it resonates with your audience. Authority is built through consistent, valuable contributions to your market, be it through content, insights, or solutions that genuinely help your audience. Authority establishes your level of permission from the perspective of your clientele. So, how can we leverage the perception of our market to gain short term market authority? Let's explore the art of enhancing the perception of your market authority. Remember, the effectiveness hinges on your genuine expertise and authenticity. Begin by publishing leadership content. Write articles, blog posts, anything that reflects your deep understanding of your field. This showcases your knowledge and positions you as an expert in that field. Engage in public and online speaking. You can do this at industry conferences, through webinars, events. Just sharing your expertise through speaking gigs enhances your visibility and builds more credibility. Another powerful strategy is leveraging the influence of a book. Now, depending on your market, the age of your market, etc., work towards verifying your social media accounts. This could also be beneficial. Verified accounts are often perceived as more credible and authoritative and ultimately more trustworthy. You can also collaborate with industry leaders and include these collaborations in your marketing assets. This not only demonstrates your connections, but also cements your standing in the industry. Consider hosting your own podcast focused on your area of expertise. As a host, you position yourself as knowledgeable authority in your field and get interviewed by others on their podcast to leverage their audience sizes. Utilize the power of video by creating high quality educational content. Address common challenges or misconceptions in your field, engaging in your audience with your expertise, and making sure that you are consistently posting reels on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, etc. Building a robust professional network is another key strategy. Connecting with other professionals provides opportunities to showcase your expertise and enhance your reputation, especially if you are connecting with individuals that have a lot of market awareness and market authority in that field. You can also get your work published in respected industry journals, magazines. That also boosts a bit of credibility. What we've seen also worked well is seeking endorsements, referrals, testimonials from well respected clients that you will deem as the ideal client to work with. This will provide positive feedback from trusted, reliable sources that can greatly enhance your authority within your market positioning. And if it aligns with your brand, consider being bombastic online. Showcase high value items or experiences on social media, and obviously ensure it's authentic and ethically correct. This can enhance the perception of success and authority within your market and help you to gain a bit more trust quicker. However, it is crucial to remember that authenticity is key. These strategies are meant to amplify your existing expertise and value, not to fabricate them. Without real knowledge and authenticity, these efforts could have the opposite effect. Now, let's look at the flip side: awareness. Awareness is about ensuring that your market knows you exist. It's one thing to have authority, but if no one knows about you, your influence is limited. Awareness is about strategically placing yourself where your audience can find you, using the right channels, messages, and timing. To do this, regularly post engaging content on your social platforms, roughly 1 to 3 posts per platform per day. Cross post and share to help a bit with the time factor. Optimize SEO if you need to, and partner with other businesses or influencers in your industry. This could really help a lot with your positioning. You can do things like joint webinars, co-authored content, cross-promotional social media campaigns. You can even use ads to broaden the audience. Although content creation is not essential to generate opportunity through outbound, content creation is a powerful tool for establishing authority. Bottom line is both authority and awareness are essential, but they require different strategies and tactics. Authority is earned slowly through trust and credibility, while awareness can be boosted more quickly But if awareness lacks authority, the awareness becomes irrelevant. Mastering market positioning is about understanding and applying the principles of authority and awareness in a way that benefits your outbound strategy. It's about building a presence that is both respected and recognized. Today, we will dive deep into understanding the nuances of your market positioning and how it shapes your outbound strategies. So let's understand these dynamics. The realm of outbound is not just a one size fits all. The key to mastering this realm lies in comprehending the subtle yet crucial differences between personality and brand orientated businesses. Let's explore these differences with a practical viewpoint and understand how outbound work for both types of businesses, especially when high authority and trust are involved. Let's have a look at personality orientated businesses. The power of the individual. Personality orientated businesses thrive on the individual's charisma, expertise, and capabilities to influence. Think of leaders, gurus, and experts. In these scenarios, outbound strategies gain remarkable traction when channeled through the personal accounts of these influencers. You can just imagine the impact when messages are sent directly from an account of a respected perceived expert. The response and booking rate skyrockets. Here's an example of how you can set this up. The way one want to set this up for an outbound personality orientated business is for Facebook, creating 4 Facebook accounts from the main account, calling them all second, third, and fourth account. Like example, Johnny's second account, Johnny third, etc. On Instagram, you have one main account and then as many sub accounts as your business infrastructure can handle. See them as runners, different pages pushing towards the same end goal. For LinkedIn, create the same as Facebook. However, try to keep it as close to the actual name as possible. With LinkedIn, they don't really like names like first, second, Johnny, or Johnny third account, fan account, etc. And for email, you have multiple email accounts under the industry leader's name. So let's look at examples of personality businesses. Personality-oriented businesses are often built around the central figure whose personal brand expertise and reputation drive the business. Let's use an example here. Imagine a cybersecurity consulting firm led by a renowned hacker turned security expert. Their personal experiences and insights form the core of the business's value proposition. Let's look at health and wellness coaches. Consider a fitness coach who has transformed their own health into a coaching business. Their personal story, the methods, and the results attract clients who relate to their journey. Let's use some influential thought leaders. Think of an education reformist who has gained a following through TikToks and on social media, offering unique insights into learning methodologies. We've seen this also happen a lot with celebrity chefs. Think of Gordon Ramsay as an example. Celebrity chefs who leverage their personal fame and culinary skills to build restaurants' empires mean their personality and reputation become synonymous with the dining experience they offer. Then moving a bit over to brand-based businesses, brand-orientated businesses. It's more of a collective approach. Here, lead generation is most often effective when conducted by multiple accounts representing the brand, not through the main individual account. While this approach can also be applied to personality-driven businesses, be warned, it risks diluting the quality and your impact. Let's look at examples of brand-based businesses. So brand-oriented businesses, on the other hand, focus on building the brand as a separate entity from any individual founder or leader. You can think of tech startups, right? Consider a tech company that develops innovative apps. The focus here is on the brand's innovative capacity and the solutions it offers, rather than any one of the individuals who runs the company. You can think of fashion retail brands, like a fashion label that's built a reputation for quality and style over the years, but where the brand's identity and values are the main attractions. Again, you're not seeing the founders or the designers. Look at some eco-friendly product company examples. Businesses that produce sustainable and eco-friendly products The brand's commitment to the environmental responsibility is the selling point rather than the personality of its CEO. You can think of educational software companies, companies that create educational software tools for schools and colleges. Here, the brand is associated with innovation and education enhancement, but it's still independent of its founders and executives. Remember, the bottom line is striking a balance between authenticity and reach. When dealing with personality driven businesses, the authenticity of the individual's voice is paramount. It's about harnessing their personal brand to create a resonant and powerful outbound campaign. And here's the scary part. When we shift these tasks to VAs for personality driven businesses, we risk losing that personal touch. And the result, a drop of effectiveness of our outbound efforts, and you might be reaching more people, but the impact significantly lessened. Look at the brands, a different approach. For brand oriented businesses, the strategy shifts. Here, the focus is on volume and presence. Utilizing VAs to amplify the brand's voice allow for a broader reach while maintaining consistent communication. Let's look at a brand setup. It's very similar to what we've covered through the personality oriented business, but for Facebook, you want each VA or setter to create 4 Facebook accounts from their main account, and then again, calling them first, second, third, or fourth, etc. On Instagram, you still want to have one main account for the brand, but as many sub accounts as needed. Again, you can see them as runners, and they just go and they create awareness and opportunity for your brand. With LinkedIn, we keep it the same as on Facebook. Try to keep the names away from first, second, third, or fan page, etc. And then for emails, you want to have multiple email accounts under the brand name with the VA's name before the company's name. So for example, Johnny at outboundmastery.com. We will dive much more in depth within the setup, within the VAs and the structure of this at the end of part 3. Leading to the next big thing, content creation. In our next lesson, you'll discover the transformative power of content creation in our outbound strategy. Welcome to an enlightening chapter of our Outbound Mastery course. This chapter is Decoding Conversion Mechanisms. In this session, dedicated to you, we'll unravel the secrets behind effective conversion mechanisms in outbound marketing. Now let's dive right in. The core of successful outbound marketing lies not just in reaching out, but how effectively you convert those interactions into tangible results. And the key to this lies in understanding and implementing robust conversion mechanisms. So, what are conversion mechanisms? Conversion mechanisms such as webinars, video sales letters, and the like are more than just tools. They are the bridges that connects your outreach efforts with actual business growth. We're not just talking about any ordinary communication here. These are strategically designed interactions that guide your potential clients from interest to decision. So, what are the roles of webinars and VSLs in outbound? Let's dive a bit deeper. These aren't just presentations, they are carefully crafted journeys. A webinar, for instance, is not merely a sequence of slides, but a pathway that leads your audience towards making an informed decision. It's about engagement, education, and effective persuasion. Here's the most important part. The success of your outbound strategies does not hinge solely on the conversion mechanism itself. Surprising, isn't it? These mechanisms are instrumental in elevating your authority and shortening the sales cycle, but they are not the sole attributors. The real game changer is how these tools are employed within your overall strategy. An important note here is that the success of the outbound strategy does not depend on the conversion mechanism in the way that you would think. Yes, it does help significantly in raising your authority. However, it does not equal results. It helps to get results quicker, like I mentioned earlier, shortens the sales cycle. The bottom line is that while these mechanisms can accelerate your results when first installing outbound in your business, they are part of a larger, more intricate puzzle. It's about integrating these tools seamlessly into your outbound process to achieve both immediate wins and sustainable growth. So in optimizing these mechanisms, it's not just about the what, but the how. It's how you use these webinars, how you craft your VSLs, that determines their effectiveness. And this, my friends, leads us to our next crucial topic: optimizing with virtual assistants, their roles, their responsibilities, and compensation. Understanding how to recruit and work with virtual assistants effectively is vital in maximizing the potential of your outbound efforts. For this lesson and the next lesson, I would invite you to grab a pen and paper or notepad and just take down all the specific information here. We're going to cover quite a bit in a short amount of time, and this is pivotal in onboarding successful team members for your outbound strategy. So let's get started. An outbound virtual assistant is more than just a support staff. They are a pivotal aspect in your outbound machinery. They manage conversational pipelines across platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, emails, etc. Their tasks include creating opportunities, labeling conversations, running software in external groups, competitor profiles, sending out friend requests, commenting on posts, posting your content, and initiating messages for your outbound setters to continue the conversations. Now, these are just hours. You may have additional tasks on your side. You are free to add them. Moving over to the channels that's used by the outbound VAs. Outbound VAs can be used through your personal profile or their own. Again, like discussed previously, purely just depending on your business positioning, be it a personality or brand orientated business. Their role is to ensure that potential opportunities are being created and managed effectively. This includes everything from labeling conversations to following up with conversations, from posting content on your behalf to filtering out non-ideal clients. So let's move over to the hiring aspect in hiring the right outbound virtual assistant. Consider bringing a VA on board when your business is making at least $1,500 in profit a month. The ratio can often be 3 to 5 VAs per outbound setter, ensuring a seamless operational flow. Especially in brand-orientated businesses, it is crucial that their profiles are professionally primed, meaning their profile pictures are up to date, their bio consists with your company's details, and make sure to turn off their location or add your company's location in it. So what to look for in an outbound VA? When hiring outbound VAs, focus on the experience in lead generation or telemarketing. They need to be proficient in English and preferably Excel skills. Their ability to handle multiple tasks efficiently and their understanding of lead generation tools are crucial. Moving over to compensation models for outbound VAs. So compensation for outbound VAs typically range between $2.50 per hour to $10 per hour for a full-time role. This rate can vary based on their expertise and the complexity of the tasks they are expected to handle. Onboarding and monitoring your VAs. So onboarding your VAs involves ensuring that the VAs have all the necessary SOPs and training software that they will be using in the operations. You need to have software monitoring their progress, especially in the initial month. It is key to ensure that they are fully on board and understand while effectively managing your outbound process. Regular communication and involvement in team meetings are essential for keeping them aligned with your business goals, your daily huddles, etc. But making ultimately sure that these business goals, these key performance indicators are met. The performance of the VAs can be measured through new messages sent, follow-up messages sent, posting and managing those posts on your profile, and efficiently tagging and removing non-ideal clients. Their contribution is vital in maintaining a healthy pipeline for your outbound setters. In our next session, you'll dive deeper into the world of outbound setters. You'll learn when to bring them on board and how they can take over your outbound fulfillment. Stay tuned as we continue to explore the intricacies of outbound mastery. Hi there, and welcome back. Today, we'll be going through the role of setters, hiring, their duties, their pay structure, etc. Here we focus on a pivotal element in the art of outbound opportunity creation, the role of outbound setters. So let's understand the role of an outbound setter. An outbound setter isn't just another helper within the team. As we discussed previously within the virtual assistants and how they breach from turning out their outreach opportunities into tangible opportunities, the setter takes those initiation of connections and make those a reality. To generate qualified opportunities, this is what the outbound setter will be helping you with. They differ significantly from inbound setters, specializing actively pursuing potential leads through various channels. They bring a depth of sales experience, making them adept at converting conversations into actual calls and generating sales in Messenger where applicable. So let's look at it. Outbound setters versus virtual assistants in outbound. Outbound setters are not about commenting on posts or running automated software like virtual assistants does. Their role is far more dynamic. They engage in meaningful conversations on your behalf using a range of strategies from social media engagements to cold calling, emailing, and effective communication. These are not just random interactions, these are targeted, strategic conversations aimed at converting opportunities into booked calls, and on certain occasions, revenue. The channels used by outbound setters. Now, listen to this carefully. Their realm includes messaging conversations across all the platforms. And of course, cold calling remains a vital part of their arsenal to create opportunities. However, the cold calling aspect may not work for all as they move usually from a full time sales environment because of the time constraint and the continuous brain dead tasks. The key to hiring an effective outbound setter lies in the timing and necessity. You don't just hire an outbound setter. You wait until your outbound system is successfully installed and you are clocking in above $15,000 in profit per month. Only when the opportunity flow increases it makes sense economically do you bring in outbound setters, aiming for an average of 6 to 10 booked calls per setter per week. Now take note, this is when all the systems are successfully installed and you've been running this at least for 3 months building your ecosystem. If one of your outbound setters are not achieving this, do not hire another one just yet. Wait to get to that threshold. What to look for in an outbound setter? When hiring an outbound setter, focus on past sales experience, an understanding of persuasion, and communication fluency. They should align with your business culture and values, showing potential growth into taking sales calls themselves as your business expands. Now, again, this is truly dependent on the type of outbound setter you're looking to hire. Some of them move from the sales realm, they're not interested in coming back, but some won't have a problem. It really just depends on their performance structure. Now, let's move over to the compensation models for outbound setters. There are several ways to compensate for outbound setters. This is truly just going to be dependent on your business's infrastructure, how much revenue you're currently generating, looking at your growth forecasting. What does that look like? Will it help? Wouldn't it? There's a lot of different factors to take into consideration. So, based on these compensation models, make sure to choose them wisely. Let's start off with base only. For part-time, consider between $50 to $70 an hour. For a full-time role, between $2,500 to $3,500 per month, depending on their experience. If you're having one for part-time, they could be between an hour to 2 hours per day. Remember, the virtual assistant does the majority of the work. The outbound setter purely just comes in to convert those opportunities into either revenue or then booking them into you or your team's calendar. Moving over to number 2, you can look at performance only models as well. So this could range from 10 to 15 to 20% of your main offer price per showed up booking, or 20% per sale closed. Whether that's once off or reoccurring, it really just depends. Or you can pay them between $80 and $130 per successful, meaning qualified appointment set. Now, the third way you can do this is base plus commission. Now, really just depending on, again, your infrastructure and what is required, you can combine a base with a form of commission on booking or sale. Now, when I would suggest to implement this is really when you have a star outbound setter, someone that's currently helping moving the business move forward. Make 100% sure that their efforts are in alignment with this. If you can't afford to lose them, outbounds are like sales reps. 1 out of 5 reps stick. Now, the last thing you want to do is get someone into your outbound process, let them learn, understand it, and then run away with the insights that you taught them. But if you can form a good organizational culture with a lot of longevity within their positioning, fantastic. That will create the opportunity then for them to move forward and to be comfortable not looking at other opportunities, even though they may come to the horizon. So once you bring a setter on board, ensure that they also have all the necessary SOPs for the virtual assistants, for themselves, and the training so that they can have a clear understanding on how to monitor their virtual assistant's progress. And you, as the business owner, need to be able to make sure that you manage their progress to ensure for effective applications and that everything is installed successfully and managed successfully from your outbound setter. For this, communication is key. They should be part of the daily huddles and meetings as well. However, the nice thing here is that they eventually start to manage the VA team. That is pivotal for the growth of the outbound system. You, as the business owner, cannot continue to manage them. It will be required, especially if the outbound setter is on base with performance, to make sure that they take ownership of their position and that they can manage their 3 to 5 virtual assistants below them. They will eventually become responsible for leading those meetings with those virtual assistants, and you can start to see them more as a sales team manager, where you can just get reports from them, have more leadership huddles with the sales manager, meaning the outbound setter, and then drive his performance and also drive the performance below him. So let's talk about the KPIs for an outbound setter. So an outbound setter's performance can be measured through the number of conversations continued per day, conversion mechanism links sent, total calls booked, total revenue collected through messenger sales, if applicable. This leads us to our next lesson. In our next lesson, you'll learn about the most effective approach for your business, tailored to your unique needs and goals. Stay tuned as we continue to demystify and master the world of outbound. Welcome to Outbound Dynamics. In-house versus service-based approaches. This session is designed to elevate your understanding of outbound strategies, providing you with the insights to make empowered decisions for you and your business. In the realm of outbound, there's a choice between implementing outbound strategies within your own business versus offering it as a service to others. Today, we will dive into both approaches, dissecting their pros and cons to aid your successful social hierarchy, recruitment, and outbound dynamics. So let's start off with outbound as a service to other businesses, starting with 1 to 3 practice clients for 6 weeks. You'll have 1 week to guide your clients in investing in all the necessary software. Then you'll have another week to set it up for them successfully. If your client already has an outbound script, this is a way where your expertise come into play. You'll have the opportunity to review and critique it, or even better, create a new one, a more effective one. Once everything is set up and ready to go, you'll kickstart the outbound process. These first 4 weeks are crucial. They are your golden opportunity to demonstrate quick wins for your client and secure your retainer. Remember, this initial phase isn't just about setting up. It's about proving the value you bring to the table with tangible results. Now let's move over to outbound in your own business. By applying the knowledge from part 2 and 3 of this course, you gain an unfair advantage in the outbound tactics and strategies. Implementing outbound in your own business not only sets you apart from the competition, but also accelerates your journey towards creating opportunities on demand. The key is to understand the power of in-house outbound implementation. It's not just about generating leads. It's about building relationship, influencing decisions, and converting potential clients into loyal followers. In the next part of this course, we dive deeper into modern influence. You'll learn how to craft outbound scripts. Stay tuned as we continue this transformative journey into the mastery of outbound linguistics. Hi there, and welcome back. In this chapter, we'll uncover influence versus persuasion. Here we're going to dive into the complex world of influence and persuasion and how these play a crucial role in your outbound strategy. So first, let's focus on influence. Influence, as Chase Hughes explains it best, is about reaching the mammalian brain, tapping into fundamental aspects like focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. Imagine just for a moment the power of focusing your client's attention. Focus is currency, as he'd say. It's your number one source of influence. Without it, no element of the process holds longevity. And that is so true. As we navigate through the intricacies of outbound strategies, understanding and harnessing the power of focus is key. It's the foundation upon which all persuasive communication is built. Focus isn't just about capturing someone's attention momentarily. It is about directing that attention toward a specific goal or outcome that is in the best interest of your potential followers or clients. Now, let's talk about how this applies to outbound. In your role as a coach, founder, or CEO, when you reach out to potential clients, your first and foremost task is to capture their focus. This is where the magic begins. It's not just about making them aware of your presence, it's about engaging them in a manner that their attention becomes completely attuned to what you have to say. See it as a focus funnel. Your outbound communications, whether they're through emails, social media messages, or calls, should act like a funnel, drawing your prospects' focus towards the core message you do want to deliver. Each word you choose, the tone you use, and the timing of your message contributes to either capturing or losing their focus. And here's the challenging part: sustaining that focus. In a world full of distractions, maintaining your prospect's focus is crucial for continuation within communication. This is where the art of crafting compelling messages comes into play. When you think of your content should not only capture their attention, but should be intriguing enough to keep the audience focused so that the messages that you're going to send through aligns. Remember, the ultimate goal of focusing your client's attention is to guide them towards making a decision, ideally a decision that aligns with their desired outcome. Moreover, focus plays a significant role in relationship building. Let's move over to authority. Authority, a concept often emphasized, isn't just about being at the top. It's about embodying confidence, discipline, leadership, gratitude, and enjoyment, as Chase Hughes would say. It's about connecting with your audience on a level that goes beyond mere words. Your positioning in this will translate over to the communication you are having with the people and the content that you're putting out in the world. If you do not believe your message, no one else will. If you don't believe in your offer, how can you expect someone else to? And if you are not convicted of your ability to deliver the results you are promising the world will eventually see through you. Become self-aware, striving to establish self-mastery first. This will allow you to have the permission to influence with happiness, joy, and a healthy conviction. Authority and focus share an interconnected relationship. Possessing authority naturally captures people's focus. Your words, actions, and decisions command their focus, drawing them in. This magnetic pull stems from their perception of you as a leader, a figure embodying confidence and discipline, someone they can trust to guide and inspire them. Now let's talk about tribe or community. We as humans are inherently social creatures. Our need to belong, to connect with a group that shares our values and beliefs is profound. This tribal instinct can drive decisions and actions, making it a powerful tool in your outbound arsenal. Emotion, another critical component that drives human behavior more than we often acknowledge. It's the emotional connection that often triggers the behavioral scripts we follow. Emotion, with the tribal sense of belonging, can create a powerful narrative that resonates deeply. The concept of tribe in outbound goes beyond just a group of people. It's about cultivating a sense of belonging and connection. In the context of your business, your tribe consists of your clients potential clients, and a broader audience who resonates with your message. Creating your tribe in outbound involves more than just gathering an audience. It's about forging a community bound by common goals, beliefs, values, and interests. When you communicate, you're not just spreading information, you are reinforcing the bonds that unite your community. This is why it is extremely important to do a positioning analysis to identify your positioning and decide if this positioning resonates 110% with who you are and what you would like to serve the world with. Shared values are the glue of your community. They create a sense of unity and belonging. When your outbound efforts echo the core values and beliefs of your audience, you strengthen their alliance with your tribe. This sense of belonging enhances the receptiveness of your message and increase the influence you have. So let's dive a little bit deeper into emotion. Emotion is a powerful driver in human decision making. In outbound, tapping into the emotional aspects can significantly boost the impact of your efforts. Your outbound communication should resonate emotionally with your tribe. The harnessing of emotion in your outbound strategy is about understanding and empathizing with the feelings of your community. It's about speaking to their heart, not just their mind. When your message strikes an emotional chord, it becomes memorable, persuasive, and impact. The synergy between tribe and emotion is crucial. The emotions you invoke in your tribe members strengthen their sense of belonging. In return, the stronger sense of belonging, the more profound the emotional connection they have with you, your brand, and your message. In practice, balancing tribe and emotion requires a deep understanding of your audience. It calls for authentic and empathetic communication that respects their values and emotions and makes sure that all tribe members are in alignment. This balance is key to building a loyal and engaged community around your positioning. Here's the secret. Persuasion is about how you communicate. You're speaking to the executive part of the human brain here. It's about using language, tone, context to guide your audience towards a desired action or belief. Persuasion is the vehicle which your influence travels. Remember, truthfully, persuasion without established authority is like a ship without a rudder. It's about aligning your communication with the elements we've just gone through to create a message that not only reach, but also resonate. Now, listen to this carefully. The key to mastering outbound dynamics lies in understanding the synergy between influence and persuasion. It's not just about capturing attention. It's about converting that attention into trust, respect, and action. Hi there, and welcome back. In this critical chapter of our journey, Scripting Success, we dive into the art of creating scripts that not only communicate but captivate. Remember, the key to unlocking outbound success lies in the power of your script and how you can lead without it in your conversations. Crafting an effective script is essential. It's about guiding potential clients towards a transformational experience with your services. Through linguistic mastery, we shape conversations that lead to lasting relationships and growth. In this session, we will explore how to weave the principles of influence and persuasion into your scripts. Let's dive into the structure of an effective outbound script. Remember, our goal is twofold. Direct potential clients towards your conversion mechanism or lead them directly to your calendar. Here's how we can achieve this. Step 1. Opening and personal connection. Start simple, build rapport. Please do not go out and send these long-winded conversations towards your potential clients, hoping that they will bite to your pitch. That's not how we do outbound. Step 2, information gathering. Show genuine interest. Make sure that you get information about where they're positioned at and how you could potentially serve them. Step 3, introducing your opportunity. State your mission and spark curiosity. Step 4, responding to interest. 3, they do sound intrigued, engage. And if they're interested, dive deeper, qualify, see if they would be a good fit for what you have to offer. Pique their interest. If new to them, offer insights. Step 5, highlighting the solution. Provide as much value that's in relation to their problem or current challenge that they're facing in a very short message. Step 6, provide a solution opportunity. This is a tangible next step, like a booking link or a conversion mechanism link. Remember, your script is a guide, not a rigid framework. It's about listening, adapting, and steering the conversation naturally towards a desired outcome. Welcome back. Let's talk about effective management of the outbound pipeline for client acquisition. Ensuring a visible potential client pipeline is crucial for sustained success in your sales teams and your departments within Outbound. By monitoring the data linked to your outbound efforts, you will gain valuable insights to make informed decisions, aiding in achieving or surpassing monthly business targets. This guide will dive deep into the components of an outbound pipeline, methods for constructing it, and strategies for efficiently managing your team's outbound initiatives. Let's start with understanding the outbound pipeline. An outbound pipeline is a transparent system to track your team's progress in the outbound process. It provides a structured approach to monitor and manage the journey of potential clients from initial contact to successful conversion. Creating an outbound pipeline requires a tailored approach, considering each prospect's varied needs and sophistication levels. Here's how you can establish your pipeline. Let's start with identifying the stages of the outbound process. Prospecting. We initiate contact with potential clients to address their needs or interest. Then we qualify these prospects to ensure that they align with our offerings. Then we qualify them. We engage in detailed conversations to understand their needs, their circumstances, and their compatibility within our offerings. And then we focus on the decision aspect here. We work towards addressing any reservations and answer any key questions to facilitate a positive decision-making process. Let's move over to setting the goals and defining the success. So establish clear and measurable objectives, like the number of successful client conversations per day, per week, and per month. This allows for performance, evaluation, and highlights areas that needs improvement. Identify success driving factors. Recognize the elements that contribute to success of your outbound client acquisition. Focus on controllable outcomes and use your pipeline visibility to determine the key influencing factors. Establish a routine. Maintain a consistent approach to monitor each potential client's progress, enabling efficient planning for subsequent steps. Regularly engaging in effective outbound strategies keeps the process dynamic and productive. Let's look at some tips for success in managing the outbound pipeline. 1, we want to continuously prospect for new opportunities. Consistently engage in prospecting to ensure steady flow of potential clients. Staying proactive in this phase is crucial for maintaining momentum in the outbound process. Then we want to maintain the engagement within the process with the prospects. Keep in touch with these potential clients post initial contact. Follow-up communications are vital to advancing in the outbound process. Utilize notes and data tracking for personalized and effective follow-ups. Then adapt to the metrics and the social media performances. Regularly assess your team's performance and adapt strategies as needed. The pipeline will involve requiring updates and refinement to your approach for optimal client conversion.
You've now seen our approach to the systematic outbound strategy. These concepts represent years of testing and refinement, though remember that success always depends on proper execution within your specific context. For you guys who are interested in exploring the technical implementation of this, I've prepared a document covering the entirety of the tools that have supported our outbound efforts. Access this resource by clicking the link in the description. And remember, building effective outbound systems require dedication to testing and refining approaches that align with your values and serve your audience authentically. Again, important disclaimer, while sharing these strategies from our experience, we cannot guarantee any specific outcomes for you. Success varies based on numerous factors, including market conditions, execution, and individual circumstances. Always evaluate strategies within your specific context and consult with a relevant professional for business decisions.